All right. Michelle in California.
Oh, in California.
Oh, I just heard myself.
Hello?
Hello, you're on with Don and
Hello?
Matt.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for taking my call. It's my first time calling, and
Welcome.
thank you.
Be careful, I'm a disrespectful asshole.
Sometimes.
That's okay. I don't know what I am. I am going through what I guess is the beginning of a deconversion process. Basically, last summer, I experienced a very traumatic event, very painful. It resulted, so I am 40, and basically what happened was it was the first time I ever experienced like a depression. I ended up getting anxiety. It got so bad that I had a suicide attempt in January.
Oh, no.
And then and then I was diagnosed with PTSD. So through all of this, basically this last year, my so-called faith has crumbled and it's been crazy. And so I just happened to never listen to any atheist stuff before. I've never been a scientific person. I know nothing about science, the world, or evolution, or nothing like that. I've always been a very esoteric, kind of very emotional, hippie, type of girl, and then kind of embraced Christianity in that. And basically, I had this idea as I was going through all of this just insane suffering. This thought came to my mind that if I could truly surrender to God in my heart, that this would all stop, that the pain would stop, that somehow that a true surrender would, even if it didn't completely eradicate it, that somehow it would, that I was somehow adding to the suffering that I was experiencing, all the PTSD symptoms. If I could do that, and therefore it was my own rebellion against God, or my own pride, all of this stuff that was exacerbating what was going in my life. I'm paying for my sins. I'm sure you've heard all of this. And so since I know you're someone who started out as Christian and then is now a very outspoken atheist, I wanted to know if you ever personally wrestled with the concepts of God gives grace to the humble and, won't show anything to the proud. And so basically people who are atheists, and you and me, the only reason why we can't get the revelation of God or whatever is because we're proud and we don't want people telling us what to do.
Yeah.
And then I guess that science is just kind of...
Let me inject a little bit here.
Just not...
One of the things that really creeps me out about Christianity is that it tends to prey on people who are weak and who are downtrodden, and it tends to try to sell those folks a crutch that they don't need. And I think I would just file it all under that rubric that these are little rationalizations that they do to try to get their hooks into these people. And it's a sound strategy to invest in something that's down because it can only go up. And when it goes up, you can claim the credit. So that's my cynical view of some of the stuff that you just mentioned. But go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I did a debate, I think at Imagine No Religion 5. It was myself and Chris DiCarlo against two Christian apologists. It's online somewhere, and you can find it. But they made a big mistake. They didn't know it, but they did. They made a big mistake by talking about this idea that God will reveal himself to you if you just ask, and you ask in the right way, with the right heart and the right intention and everything else. Mm-hmm. I lit them up for that, because that to me is one of the most disgusting, despicable, awful things that you can say. Because really, all they were saying is, Matt just never tried hard enough or didn't do it the right way. Otherwise, God would have revealed himself. What they're saying is they are right. They cannot possibly be wrong. There can't be a fault with their theology, and so the fault must be with you. Well, fuck them.
It's a blame the victim mentality.
Because I can't tell you how hard somebody else tried and how sincere they were, but I know what I went through. And when Joe Shit the Ragman comes to me to tell me that he prayed for God to find his car keys, and God found his car keys, and that was all he needed to be secure and comforted in the joy and love of Jesus. Well, good for him, but it doesn't do anything for me or anybody else. And not only did God not find my car keys, I never got an answer. I spent as much time as I could imagine sincerely seeking and honestly studying, and I didn't set out to become an atheist. I set out to become the best example of Christ that I could be. And when I started coming up against questions, what I'd get were platitudes. And when I kept finding out that I wasn't getting an answer, a curious thing happened. I could not believe anymore. And so when people come up, it's like right now in my life, there are people saying things about me that I know for a fact are not true. And people around me also know for a fact these things aren't true. What do I do about that? I know they're wrong. It's not necessarily something I can prove. It's not necessarily something I can demonstrate to anybody else. I could sit there and argue with them till I'm blue in the face, but I don't have to. Because the second they say that about me, I know that they have lost all credibility. I know that they are on the losing end, that they don't have an argument. I know that they are not worth my time and certainly not worth elevating. So these people who are suggesting that you and I just didn't have a humble heart, they're talking out of their ass.
But I guess this is my thing, like, what if I guess for me, what makes it really hard is, like, I just feel like I really don't. Like, I actually am different because, like, I just truly do feel like I don't want someone telling me what to do. And
that's
so
fine.
I feel like I'm inherently evil for like rebelling like against like authority and stuff. And so that makes me like in this special group of like the reprobate mind, and I just don't even know if I just have to kind of go through a process to like.
Yeah, you don't have to play. You don't have to play that game. I sincerely tried, but I can't prove that to anybody. If instead I hadn't sincerely tried, that's still not my problem. If there's a God who set up a system under which we are supposed to do A, B, and C in order to be aware of his existence and have some sort of relationship with him, and we do A, B, and C, you don't get to say, well, you didn't do A, B, and C the right way. Well, what's the deal here? Is there actual good reason to believe in a God, or is there not? This is an evidence question. And what do they come back with? Well, you have to have a humble heart, and you have to exercise faith, and you have to do all this other stuff. None of those things are sound methods to get to the truth of anything. And if there's a God, God should know that. And a God will know whether or not you were sincere. But if God decides that you weren't sincere and then decides not to reveal himself to you, how can he possibly fault you for not believing something when he did not provide the evidence? And
that's what I was thinking. Like, yep. I was just thinking, like I just said, I was like, you know, God, I was like, I've done the best that I can, and I just don't know what else to do. And everything just kind of fell apart and crumbled. And I just kind of don't even know how to see the world, because I feel like I'm like in this bipolar experience, because I'll find myself saying stuff like, oh, that didn't happen. Well, I guess God didn't mean for it to be. And then I'll stop myself and go, oh, but wait a minute. If I don't believe in God anymore, like I can't say that. So I have like this whole worldview of kind of the way that I see things. And it's so weird, because then I'm like, holy shit, like I don't even know how to see, like,
no, you're good.
More, yeah. It's crazy.
You don't have to beat yourself up.
That makes sense.
If somebody came up to you and said, I have a check for $1 million and it's got your name on it, and in order to claim it, all you have to do is sincerely pray to me every day for a month.
I was going to offer you a little bit different advice.
It's an absurd thing.
There is this thing that the Christians have called the serenity prayer. And if you take the religion out of it, it's really an idea that there are some things you can control, and you should think about those and worry about those things and try to improve those things. And there are lots of things that you don't have control over, and you should try to let those things go.
Don't credit that. Don't credit Christianity with that.
Oh, okay, but
that's not.
Well, but the sentiment of the Serenity prayer, I think, is a good one, and it might help you in troubled times. Of, focus on the things that you have control over and that you can do something about, and try not to let the rest of it bother you too much, even if it's going down the tubes.
And you don't owe anybody an explanation for who you are, or what you are, why you believe it, or anything else. And if they come to you and say, well, you just didn't do it right, okay, thanks. Thanks for your unfounded assertion that you can't possibly demonstrate. I'll move on now and live the rest of my life while all of you keep coming at me every couple of weeks to say, oh, I didn't do it right. Thank you.
Oh, my God. So does that mean that I have the freedom to go and be a bad person?
Yes, it means you have the
suffer the
freedom to go
consequences
be a
of
bad
that,
person.
right?
I don't know why you would want to be, and certainly there are consequences.
No, I don't want to be. I guess it's just weird. I don't know if this makes sense. It's just kind of strange. Just like I said, I'm just at the beginning. I'm like, wow, if I don't have any kind of religion,
as a new non-believer,
to answer to, I'm going to go crazy.
As a new non-believer, you're going to have to make a lot of decisions that you didn't have to make before, and you're going to have to think about the rationale behind those things, and it's a bit of a burden. But I think at the end of the day, you're going to be grateful that you went through this experience.
Yeah, and the thing about not having a God to answer to, that's cool and all, but you have an entire planet of people to potentially answer to, just like you always have and just like you always will. That's the important thing, which is why I'm a humanist. Right. But on that note, Michelle, we got to let you go. We're way over time, and coming up in thank you so much. Call us back. In 10 minutes or so, they're going to air a new episode of The Nonprofits, and food should be close to ready. Thanks to Don. Thanks for all of you for your patience with a disrespectful asshole who's been sick for a week. And to Eric for sending me a text just now that said, don't read this. We'll be back next week with Gail Jordan from Recovering from Religion. There's the folks on the other side of the wall. Again, they get to show themselves as they put up the credits. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.